smoking too, sipping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all. Well, that sounds like a party just about to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we're so glad you're here because we're at show number 418, and we add an extra category from time to time, and it's wine. Now, we're not wine experts by any means. I enjoy drinking it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know nearly as much about wine as I know about beer.
I'm not a wine expert, but I've seen one on TV.
Yeah,
I've seen one. Wow.
Did you stay at Holiday Inn last night?
Yeah. So we like bringing wine experts on the show from time to time. And last time we had this one on, we had such a good time. We've invited him back, Mr. Travis Thompson from Vino, Vera Wines. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Today we're going to be talking about Prosecco and what it is and what it might not be.
And I'm really excited about this because I have some very early formed impressions of Prosecco that I don't think are correct. And I've already started changing what I think a little bit about it, but I have a feeling you're going to change our minds.
My wife kind of turned
more.
me on to Prosecco as a kind of an aperitif.
Yeah.
Even from time to time. And I had no idea about it, but I'm like, sure, let's go. And I've enjoyed the ones we've had.
We'll get into this later, but my first impression of Prosecco was don't like it, it's too sweet. But that isn't always the case, and I think you're going to educate us today. You're going to school us, so I'm very excited. Always excited about being schooled.
He's going to debunk the myths.
Yes, that's what we're all about here.
There will be no more bunks in the myths.
We will not be following you down any rabbit holes. We will pull you out of the rabbit hole here on Smoking and Toasting. So wines for Valentine's Day, and by the way, a whole new use for Coors Light. We'll cover that on the show today. So we're excited about.
Can you use it to keep other beers cold?
Yeah. Well, you can set it next to other beers and then gauge the coldness of those other beers to some degree by the color of the mountains.
By the color of the can.
It's not foolproof. I'm just saying. We do have something though that I'm very excited to present to you today because and Ian, you don't know about this yet.
No, this is a complete surprise.
Yeah, Terry knows because I had to send the
I have to push the button.
I had to send it to him so he could push the button. But we have now a new Smoking and Toasting intro song.
What?
Now, we've already played one of our ones that we've been using at the beginning of the show.
I was as shocked as you.
But here is a new Smoking and Toasting intro song. Play it for us. Sound pretty good.
Agreed.
Smoking and toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, shoot 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Holy cow.
Pretty catchy, huh?
Make sure I go, yeah.
So this was sent to me by our good friend,
Cheers, y'all.
friend of the show, Rowdy Yates,
That's
who is a country music,
fantastic.
phenom in his own mind. And according to what Rowdy told me, and again, you can't always believe Rowdy because he's prone to a bit of hyperbole.
Sketchy.
But he told me it was Willow Creek
eyes.
Junction. Now, I don't know if that's actually true or not. Maybe you could verify. Is that
I don't know anything
is
about
that you
that.
on guitar?
No.
I thought it was Alan Jackson.
Yeah, it does sound a bit like Alan
There you
Jackson,
go.
doesn't it? Well, I do know who it
I bet
actually
it's
is.
heard Alan Jackson.
I bet it has. Yeah, I bet it has. That, my friends, and I don't know whether to be thrilled or terrified, was produced by AI.
What?
That artificial intelligence generated that Smoking and Toasting intros, our new Smoking and Toasting intro song.
A human being did not do that.
No.
That deserves one of those just
I don't
for
know
being
what to
written
say.
with
A human being told it the lyrics and or what to include in the lyrics, and AI did it all by its own lonesome.
Can AI drink this beer and tell me what it tastes like?
I don't know. I don't know. I think we should be very afraid.
Cannot compute wet.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Ralph?
AI, I'm impressed.
Yeah. So we'll use that as an intro from time to time, specifically because we don't have to pay any royalties on it, which is kind of
AI
nice.
intro.
The AI, the smoking.
Boy, the record companies are going to be thrilled about that.
Yeah,
They don't have to pay
no
any
kidding.
royalties.
You know who? Think about who this puts out of business, though. Jingle companies,
Yeah.
like the people that write, the little musical jingles for commercials and
Would
stuff.
you want to be a pepper too?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. My understanding is that Rowdy actually put this together using AI by just telling it the style he wanted and giving it the words.
Yeah, he's literally just sitting out
madness.
in the conference room, just writing jingles of things
Yeah,
now,
that's
just
right.
writing music and songs.
I could actually bring him on the show to talk about it, but we've only got 2 hours, so probably should move on.
It's not difficult to get Rowdy talking.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's difficult to get him to stop talking, but not to. The only way that
He's like a downhill go-kart with no brakes.
the only way you can get Rowdy to stop talking is if the vocal on the song starts. Then he knows how to. He knows how.
Hit the post.
For those
Just
who
right
don't know, Rowdy is one of the most celebrated and recognized country music DJs in the United States, by
Yeah,
the way, and
yeah.
spent a long career here in Houston and other places
Yeah.
in our hometown, and is a very much a friend of mine and a friend of the show. So
Great guy.
So we'll have him on sometime. Yeah, one of those shows where we've run out of stuff to talk about. We'll just have Rowdy come on.
Rowdy's the one that called me and said, "Hey, there's this job opening. You should come over and look at."
That's right. I know that's when you came on,
He's
right?
He's the reason I'm here.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm just telling you that's a good guy.
Yeah,
a guy
yeah,
who will
for
do
sure.
that. That's a good guy.
So Rowdy's to blame.
Yeah,
huh?
that's
yeah,
right.
so we love him. We love. Well, Terry loves him. So on today's program, we mentioned the prosecco that we'll be tasting. Really super excited about that, and we'll also be tasting a little rum. I have the bottle right here. This is 10-1. Caribbean or Caribbean, depending on your preferred pronunciation, rum. So I'm very excited
Depending
for
on
us
where
to-
you put the emphasis.
That's the emphasis on the proper syllable. That's
right.
That's how we do it here on Smoking and Toasting. We also will bring you the most popular segment on this program coming up in the second hour when we do drinking news. And our drinking news teaser headline for today: the problem with Florida seafood.
Okay.
I'll give you something to think about, right? We have a teaser headline for the drinking fact as well, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But our drinking fact, which always includes that wonderful little fanfare that Terry played a moment ago.
You can't play that fanfare too much.
No, you really can't.
Yeah.
Our drinking fact teaser headline for today. Usually you do a little ukulele riff there.
Oh, sorry. I was waiting on him. One more time, please.
Our drinking fact teaser headline for today. We all owe a debt of gratitude to Johnny Appleseed.
Okay.
There we go. That's what I was waiting on.
I'm missing my post today.
We'll tell you about some cigars to watch for on the program today. There's been an actual victory in court for premium cigars. I'll be thrilled to share that news with you guys today. And Coors launches a brand new item. A brand new way to use the Coors Light can.
Does it have nothing to do with beer?
Has
Because I
nothing-
love that they sell stuff that has nothing to do with beer.
Nothing to do
with
with
beer. So we'll tell you all about that coming
Never
up. on
mind
the
how
program.
it tastes. Look at our can.
That's right. I poured all of us a beverage of mystery for today. So, Terry, why don't we go ahead and play the sounder and get into the bomb here?
The beverage of mystery.
By the way, that voiceover sounds so good on that, but that will soon be replaced by an AI song about the beverage of mystery.
Yeah.
so you know.
It just has. There has to be a song about
It
that.
has to happen, yes. Just the beverage of mystery is where one of us will bring in a beverage mystery, or the bomb. Sometimes we call it for short. The only person who knows what it is the person what brung it.
What brung it?
Today that would be me. So we'll take a little sniff of this. We'll taste it and we'll see what people think of it, and then we will reveal what it is after the fact.
I don't know what smell that
It
is.
smells a bit like watered down lemonade.
Yeah.
Zima.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Well, I was noticing, so the
give you that.
carbonation in it sticks a little bit to the side of glass, and every once in a while it goes bloop bloop from the middle, and just
Is that good?
it just looks like bubbles from the middle of a swamp.
I think this is Sprite with 1/8 ounce of vodka added.
Boom.
What do you think, Jerry?
I mean, it smells. It doesn't smell like much, but when you taste it, you can really taste the alcohol in it. The vodka. I think you're right. It's got to be vodka in it. It's
Definitely lime.
Ian?
yeah.
I'm trying to decide if it has a nasty aftertaste or not. It doesn't seem to. It's a bitter
I'm trying to decide if it has a
or a
nasty
sour
any
aftertaste.
taste.
It's kind of a
It doesn't seem to have.
It's a little sweet up front. It doesn't seem to have that nasty fake sugary
There's a little
aftertaste.
something there, but it's not nearly as bad as like some of the seltzers and different
It
things.
seems like it's almost like they need to do something to it before it's really good. This is
I feel like a little ice would water this down just about right. Just
Yeah.
dilute it
and maybe make it just a little bit colder, which would probably
and
be
add a little more vodka.
good. Yeah.
that's always Ian. If he thinks it's wrong and you're like, oh, maybe it's a little strong. All right, well, let's add a little more of the alcohol into it.
That's how I've improved on.
I mean, if you could taste too much vodka in it, then we just add a little whiskey.
That's how I've improved on recipes for almost every cocktail that I make. Well, it's pretty good. How can we make it better? This margarita, more tequila. That's
This tastes
the answer.
this tastes a bit like a generic drink someone would put in a thing, a dispenser at their house and be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I made that for anybody who wants it."
Right, like a punch for a party or
Yeah.
some sort. Yeah.
It's very
It's not
Sprite,
bad.
Fresca, kind of
Fresca.
like kind of Fresca thing.
I think it could be good to like top a Long Island iced tea.
yeah. I got you.
Now, as I drink it more,
I have a question for you, Cruz.
Yes, go ahead.
Is that a beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to see us?
Well, as it turns out today, I am really happy to see you.
Oh, it's not in your pocket. I see that.
It wouldn't fit. And you would have looked at it and go, no, there's no way. He couldn't be that happy.
We're not
to see
doing
me.
we're not doing the show
Yeah,
today.
We are enjoying a Mike's Harder lemonade.
That was my first thought. Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Mike is really happy to see
After
us.
all of us
I used to
talking about
kinda
your
like
pocket,
those
you
hard
pull out
lemonades.
something that says harder.
Yes, exactly. And you think that wasn't by design? Warning, it says on the can, contains alcohol. This is Mike's Harder Lemonade, which comes in at 8% alcohol by volume.
I'm more on
What is-
board with
what-
this than I am with most of those things.
Yeah?
Although it tastes a little more limey to me than lemon.
Then lemon, yeah.
Are you getting that, or is it just me?
All right, definitely some lime to it.
I used to enjoy the lemonades like that sometimes, and I feel like it was hard enough as was. Maybe. But I mean, the more I drink it, I have to say it's just becoming Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Well,
Right?
at least
It
they
says
didn't call it.
right here, Mike's is hard, so is prison. Don't drink until you're 21.
It really says that?
Yeah, it says right,
It really,
right there on the can, buddy.
really says that.
Wow. I don't. There's so
You don't know how to follow that up.
there's so much I could say right now.
Man.
So many different directions that I could go. But
Man, look at the size of that can. That can is huge.
what do you think of that? Seriously, do you
It's
like it?
drinkable.
Yeah?
It's drinkable.
There's been so many times for that's what she said in the past minute.
It's been so long. That's what she said. It's been so long since I had a Mike's Hard Lemonade. I mean, I've had one, but it's been years, so I can't really do a comparison.
Well,
to,
sometimes if you wait that long, you're going to end up getting harder lemonade.
You don't want to see what they do with that can in prison.
we want to take a break. Is what we want to do. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars,
Love those things.
and today about wine, specifically about Prosecco for Valentine's Day. So really super excited about this because I do love bubbly. And my experience with Prosecco has not been that great. It's been a little too sweet, a little too cloying for me. But then I've had a couple that were better that I thought, okay, yeah, I really like this. And so I think you're going to educate us a little on
Yes, sir.
Prosecco, how to get to the good stuff without necessarily having to pay a fortune for it. So that's something we are looking forward to. All right, Terry, we are ready, sir.
And now it's time for another Smoking and Toasting Drinking Fact.
Every week I find a new one. I just have to. If it takes me an hour to scour the internet and find one just so we can hear that fanfare again, that's what I do. Today's drinking fact, American legend, and this is true, by the way, all of these are, American legend Johnny Appleseed. You've heard of him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like Trump says, has anybody heard of Johnny Appleseed? He always says that when he brings somebody up. American legend Johnny Appleseed did not help to feed hungry early Americans, but we love him anyway. Apparently, the seeds that Johnny Appleseed sold to farmers throughout Ohio and Indiana produced apples that were inedible.
Oh, what?
But they were perfect for making hard cider.
Oh.
So Johnny Appleseed, still a hero in my book. Thank you,
Redeeming
Johnny.
quality.
Wow.
Thank you, Johnny
Sowing the
Appleseed.
seeds of love.
Yeah, and or as we would say, Johnny Appleseed was indeed sowing the seeds of love. I don't know whoever made that fanfare. They're just, I need to send them Christmas cards. They're just, they're wonderful. They're just absolutely wonderful. Ian, do you have an opportunity to smoke anything interesting? In fact, I know that you did because I was sitting next to you while you were doing it.
You were sitting next to me with the group of guys up at Casa. We all hang out and chat about music and everything else. I went into the humidor. I picked out a Blackworks Studio Intergalactic.
Now, Blackwork Studio I'm familiar with. Intergalactic I am not. Although
This is
it
a
is a
new one, I
pretty
think.
good Beastie Boys song.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I like my sugar with coffee and cream.
That's good.
This was the Robusto coming in at 5.5 by 50 with a USA Pennsylvania broadleaf wrapper, an Ecuadorian Habano binder, and a Nicaraguan filler. The appearance on this espresso brown wrapper, leathery and oily, medium.
It was a beautiful cigar, by the way. I was sitting watching you smoke it.
Yeah, it was super, super pretty. I mean, the Blackworks, though, they just, all their cigars have that deep, dark,
Yeah. Kind of what they're
oily,
all about.
leathery thing. The pre-light sniff on this dark mocha, barnyard and coffee at the foot. I used a V-cut on this for the pre-light draw. It had a very light draw to it. Sweet and fruity kind of notes out of it. I was not expecting the fruitiness. The initial light on this, earth and coffee, spicy and fruity. Retrohale is peppery and sweet with a touch of fruit and wood. Very much fruit in this cigar. It was a strange thing, but wonderful at the same time. The first third of this, sweet and spicy with a fruitcake kind of vibe. Massive plumes of smoke. Delivered delicious notes of mocha and coffee with cedar. Retrohale is sweet and cedar. Solid ash, good burn. Proposed pairing, I would love to have had, I didn't have one with me, but I would love to have had a funky Jamaican rum with this.
Ooh, I bet that
would have been
good,
really
yeah.
nice going
Love
with the coffee notes and the cedar on here. The second third of the cigar, more cedar and fruitcake spice settles into a nice undertone with sweet mocha and coffee, touch of leather on the lips. Retrohale is sweet and cedar with a touch of spice. Solid ash, good burn with one little touch up on it. The last third of this, cedar and chocolate move forward. The coffee and spices remain consistent. Retrohale is sweet and cedar with a touch of spice. Solid ash, perfect burn for after I touched it up. It was
Nice.
fantastic. This cigar comes in at $11.50. I'm going to give it a solid 6. I enjoyed it. I will buy more.
Yeah, you look like you were enjoying it. 'cause,
Yeah.
we were sitting together at
And you'll
Casa.
see in the
you were-
picture right here, I
Yeah.
smoked it down to like a nub.
And I also saw you blowing some smoke rings with
I
it.
did.
Yeah, which was kind of cool.
did. Big
And I'm
massive
so
smoke.
envious because I can't do that. Yeah.
Is your 6 a 6 out of 10?
6 out of 10. So our price to quality scale works on a 1 to 10 scale, but if you get a 5, you get exactly what you're paying for.
Right. So, if you
when
get
you
a
get a
6, it outperformed its cost, basically.
Yeah, so basically I would have been happy if I paid $14 for this. I'd been just fine with it.
And that's so it's pretty interesting. I was there with you at Casa, and I picked out a few things. One of which I smoked, the others which I took. We'll take home. But the interesting thing to me is how easy it is to rack up a pretty expensive bill on cigars, and that's not a criticism of Casa. It's just the prices that cigars seem to be. And I bought. And I'm very excited about it. But I bought one of the cigars that you reviewed, I think it was last week's show.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago, the AJ Fernandez
The 20th anniversary.
20th anniversary. It looks so gorgeous.
Isn't it beautiful?
But, I'm going to be, pulling change out of the the seats in the couch
It was
in
like
order to make my car
$18, wasn't
payment.
it?
It was more than that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I'm gonna be struggling to make my car payment this month. It was so expensive, but it's an AJ, and I'm gonna try
Drive a
it.
car, smoke the cigar.
And in fairness,
it was $25 is what it was.
In fairness to AJ, he has a lot of really great cigars that are not nearly that expensive. So it's hard for me to begrudge him a $25 ultra premium.
Yeah.
And I'll be excited to smoke it and see if I think it's worth the $25. So, all right, we got to take a break. We have a lot to talk about, including Prosecco here today, and we have more to come, including some cigars to watch for. One of which I'll tell you about that I actually smoked today, and it was quite good. So I'll tell you about that coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, and Prosecco today. We're very excited. In fact, I forgot to tell you, but we should taste the first Prosecco in this segment. So,
Okay.
So if you want to go ahead,
good sound effects.
Go ahead and get it ready.
Go ahead and get your mic ready for sound effects.
Okay, good. While he does that, I will tell you that Smoking and Toasting is heard every week on great radio stations like News Talk 1560 in Abilene, Texas. Thank you, News Talk 1560.
There's a song about Abilene.
Yeah, I know when Steve Martin played when the clown didn't show up at the birthday party in Parenthood, and so he had to pretend to be the balloon twisting clown. And he kept saying, "I'm on my way to Abilene." It was a cowboy clown. You see the movie; it's worth it. It was a terrible reference on my part, but the movie is fantastic.
Oh, fun.
Prosecco's about to happen.
Good job.
Man, now see that's what I like is somebody who has been on the show one time and immediately
He knows.
understands what we're looking for when it comes to sound effects. Terry, if you pass me your glass over there, I'll get you some Prosecco. Okay, so while you're pouring, let me just say this about Prosecco. I mentioned this earlier on, but my initial response to Prosecco when I tried it was I wasn't crazy about it. It was a little too sweet, not necessarily a kind of, I don't know, it was almost like candy sweet. But I came to understand later that I was just maybe drinking too cheap a Prosecco. And then I came to understand that it isn't necessarily about the price. It's just about finding Prosecco that isn't designed to be sweeter and maybe used more for mixing. So help straighten me out. How do I find the Prosecco that I want that's not so sweet? What am I looking for?
Well, so let's first start with the naming of Prosecco. So it kind of sounds like you had was a dry Prosecco, which that name is kind of misleading because...
Well, usually when I drink, other types of sparkling wine, I like the dry.
So just the word dry is actually one of the sweetest in the... All right, so we're going to go dry, extra dry, brut, extra brut, brut nature. And then so brut nature is going to be like 0 to 2 grams of sugar per liter. This wine that you have in your glass right now is probably in that 8 to 12 grams per liter.
Okay.
And then the second wine that we're going to pull out is an extra dry, and that's going to be 12 to 16 grams per liter.
Interesting. Okay, so
a extra dry is the first level of sugar where your palate can detect the sweetness. But
interesting.
This first wine that we're tasting is going to be a brut. So that is the third from the driest.
Now, when I'm looking for other sparkling wines, Brut's one of the things I look for because it usually means to me that it's dry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Brut and then Brut Nature are they going to be the two drier ones?
Okay.
Because then that Brut Nature is going to be like 0 to like 0 sugar at all. They fermented it in a way that it's going to be very, very dry.
Okay.
And but again, I always like when I'm presenting wine to a customer, when I'm presenting wine to you guys, I always want to start dry and then move to sweet.
Right. That makes sense. Now with Prosecco, we're not talking about Prosecco is not a style; it's a region. Correct.
Correct. So for a long time, they actually refer to the grape as Prosecco.
Right.
That is no longer the case because there was other regions that kind of try to take that glory away from Italy, and so now. Prosecco, the name is actually a very small town in the middle of the Prosecco region.
Okay.
So Prosecco is grown and produced from the Veneto, which is just east of Lake Garda, all the way east to Friuli. And so there's several DOCs within that region or within that area. But then what we have in front of us is a DOCG. And so that's basically it's a...
so what does that mean?
So if I could portray an Italian accent, I would say this much better. But so DOC is basically a guarantee of...
Just do this while you talk.
Yeah, of course.
That'll make it. Yeah.
So it's a guarantee of control and quality, which is a DOC, and then the G at the end of DOCG is a guarantee. So it's just a tighter set of restrictions. Like, I guess in a very broad sense, you could go from calling something whiskey to calling it bourbon. That it's a lot of things can be whiskey, but then there's
bourbon. There's specific things it has to be.
Even bonded, where it has to go through a certain
that's
process.
But so maybe in the next segment, what we're going to talk about, like the varying levels of quality and how or we'll dive into it now. So what your perception might have been at your first go at Prosecco, you might have been drinking something that was a dry or maybe even a secco, where secco it means sweet. And so that, for some unfortunate soul that bought that and presented it to you, that's where you develop your opinion. Whereas, so this, what do we think of this?
This is delicious.
Delicious, yes.
The nose on it is wonderful. I know that.
Yeah. Now, there is a sweetness on the tongue, but it is not a disarming sweetness.
There's also a very tannic kind of a note and a dryness on the very end that I really enjoy too.
Yeah, so you get
like finishes.
A lot of like lemon peel, almost like peach, a little bit of citrus. This being a DOCG. There's 3 DOCGs: Valdobbiadene, which is where this is, Asolo, which is another one, and then Cartizze. And then as like I said, maybe in the next segment we'll get into what that hierarchy is. But whenever you go from your I don't know, $8, $10, $12, $14 Proseccos. And then, those are fine and good for, a lot of the uses that people, use it, whether that's
mixing cocktails or whatever.
Aperol spritz, vermouth spritz, what's a Negroni Spugliato, that was real popular 2 summers ago.
To say.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's just that's what those cheaper things can be used for, just mixing it however you want to. And I know there's a whole breadth of cocktails that use sparkling wine.
Well, honestly, this is absolutely delicious. It does not set off that, oh my gosh, this is too sweet.
For those of you listening and wondering
for me.
what the heck we're talking about, this drink's more almost like a champagne.
Yes.
And so La Vera is the name of this producer, and again, they're in Valdobbiadene, which is hillside.
Yeah. Again, easy for you to say. Yeah.
The first 14 times I heard that word, I was like, say it again.
It's those 17 letters on the back right there.
But yeah, so Valdobbiadene is one of the 3 DOCGs in Italy.
And what does a bottle like this cost at retail?
That would be, let's see, so somewhere at Central Market, the extra dry is available at Central Market. This is the Brut, and it's $24.
Okay. So that's
not unreasonable.
The general area that this bottle is in. So it's more expensive than sort of like my kind of everyday, but less expensive than my one that I consider a real treat, and it is a real treat. So at that price, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you can get Prosecco. I'd stay away from the one that's 9, but then you can find some decent DOC, which is that broader range of quality, for probably $13 to $15.
So if I see DOC on the bottle, it's an indication I'm headed in the right direction.
Yes. So DOC means that it is in that range that Italy is designated as, where you can get a DOC level Prosecco. So again, that's the Veneto stretching all the way east to Friuli. And so there's numerous DOCs within that region.
What's the price point? What does Prosecco go up to, like when you get particularly fancy or expensive Prosecco? How much does that?
Yeah, so like whenever we get to that part in a few minutes, like I'd say maybe low 30s is about that's as high as I can imagine.
So you're not talking about $70 and $80 Prosecco.
No. I mean, maybe on a restaurant menu, but that's but that's whenever you've got to account for like a 3 to 3.5 time markup.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
But like at a bottle shop or a Central Market, you're looking maybe if we're talking about like a Cartizze, which again we'll cover that in just a second, but $32, $34 maybe.
So as a quick summary, if I walk into a place, I have no idea what I'm looking for. So first off, you could look for this. This is delicious, De La Fara. But you want to see the DOC, DOCG preferred, and Brut is going to be less sweet than dry.
Correct. So yeah, the two things that like you need to walk into and you're kind of have in your mind when you're looking for your Prosecco is how good do I want? Do I want to get? You definitely want a DOC, and then if they have a DOCG on the shelf, and you aren't afraid to spend your $18 to $26, depends on the store's markup. Then you got to decide: do you want a dry or an extra dry? Because the vast majority of Prosecco on the market is going to be either extra dry or Brut. Not a whole lot of Brut Nature Prosecco on the market. And then most people are, these days are staying away from that, just calling it dry, which would be pretty dang sweet, or, even sweeter than that, because just calling it dry is taking you up to like 26 grams per liter, where say this is like 12 or 13.
Right. So this is not as sugary. That makes sense.
And then on top of that, using dry on the actual bottle means something different than when we use it as a descriptor a lot of times.
Exactly, yeah.
So just want to make sure that we have that distinction there.
Because this is definitely saying it's more sweet. Is
those
what you're
terms
saying.
could get confusing when it says dry. It's going to be a little sweeter yet.
Because usually if I'm buying just regular sparkling wine, I see dry. I think of that as maybe not so sweet.
Right, a little less sweet and a little more like a little stringency on it that dries out your mouth a little bit.
So yeah, just to set the record straight, whenever you walk into the store, if you want drier, you want to go Brut. If you want feel a little bit more fruit and sweetness, step into the extra dry. And then again, most stores aren't going to have anything sweeter than that. 95% of the Prosecco on the market is either a Brut or an extra dry.
Okay, good to know. And looking for the DOC or the DOCG, that can be really, really helpful when you're buying Prosecco.
This is highly carbonated as well, and it's really nice how it adds a little spice on the tongue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like that. Kind of tricks you into a spiciness.
Absolutely. And I'll just mention too, I didn't know to look for the DOC or the DOCG, but I did buy a bottle of wine once that was DOGG. And it was a red wine, and it was interesting. But it wasn't
terrible. How did Snoop Dogg become an American icon?
I
love the guy. Don't get me wrong.
Honestly, I do not know.
He's like the most lovable guy in America.
But I've never ever watched The Voice. My wife and I watched an entire season of The Voice because Snoop Dogg was on.
Because he was on.
Yeah, I'm serious. It's just a thing. But yeah, he is one of the best pitchmen ever because he shows up on a commercial and actually says, I think it's in one of the T-Mobile commercials, he says, "You're buying it because I'm on the commercial," and he's probably right.
And he's Martha Stewart's best friend.
Yeah, Martha Stewart loves it.
I do want to point out, I mentioned it earlier that my wife has every once in a while we go, like if we go out for somewhere for drinks or something before we eat, she'll order a Prosecco as an aperitif, and it's a really nice way to start the evening with something a little bubbly, a little nice. So I've had some that weren't super sweet. I've had some that were a little more along the lines of this, and I've really enjoyed them.
I am really excited about this. I will buy this. This is something that can be added to my sparkling wine rotation, and it's a little different too. I mean, even though it's it is less sweet than some of the other Proseccos, it's got a little bit of a sweetness that kind of separates it from some of the sparkling wines that I usually enjoy. So this is a great one to have in my rotation.
It leaves almost an ever so slight grapefruit note on the back of the palate too that I really enjoy.
Well, in the next segment, I'll pop the extra dry. So that's when you're going to get a little bit of, we'll call it sweetness, but definitely some more noticeable fruit.
All right, so I want to save a little bit of this so we can compare the two when we get to that part of the show, because I think this is.
He said he wants to save some of that after he just poured some more fruit. So.
Importantly, I poured my second glass before I said we want to save some. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm not 418 shows. I've learned something.
We got an idea what's going on here.
Yeah, I've learned something as we go through. Well, this is really, honestly, this is very, very good. And I appreciate the flavor as being a little bit different from what my normal sort of dry sparkling wine flavor is. This has a little more fruitiness to it, but in a really, really good way. Like you said, Ian, there's even a little bit of a grapefruit.
Yeah, and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy. There's something about the way the bubbles interact with the tongue and add a little spice, and it finishes with almost a grapefruit. There's a lot of fruit going on in the back of it, but it really leaves a nice aftertaste, and it makes you kind of want more. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Say it's the Doritos effect.
The Doritos effect is what I like to call it. You crunch that one and you're like, yeah, one more would be good. One more would be good. Speaking of Doritos effect, my wife went and had lunch yesterday with Liliana Rodriguez, our tequila expert here on the show, who's going to be on in a couple of weeks. And Liliana sent home with her, for me, this little bag of these cookies from Pico's, the restaurant. Oh, you talk about Doritos effect. They're only like that big around, like a 50-cent piece maybe, but you cannot just eat
like
one.
75
Oh my
of them.
God, they're so good. So thank you, Liliana. Not like thanks a lot. And we'll talk about those when you're on the show. In the meantime, we'll enjoy the La Fara, and we will. How do you say that word? Valdo
Biadene.
And that's the region?
Yes, that is the DOCG.
Okay, that's easy for you to say. We will be right back with the DOWG here on Smoking and Toasting.
No.
Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And today, also about wines, Prosecco specifically. And I'm going to take a pass at this. Let's see how I do. The La Fara Valdobiadene?
Pretty damn close.
Yeah? Say the Valdo word.
Valdobiadene.
Valdobiadene.
There you go. You got it. Third try.
Valdobiadene. Okay,
Boom.
that's pretty impressive, and it's pretty impressive to drink too.
It's pretty
You
delicious.
said again the retail on this bottle is roughly
$22 to $25.
That's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
You know, like when you're going out to buy bubbly, I already have a price in my head, and it usually starts above 30. And so this is going to become a staple at the house.
Yeah, because you can drop down a few bucks and have this level of quality, and it really is. I don't know. It really is. If you've only had the cheaper Prosecco, this will destroy your perception of what Prosecco is.
It's not even close.
In a wonderful, wonderful
not
way.
even close.
I mean, and it's a pretty big jump between this and the next, because from here we're going up to either French Corta or Champagne as far as just what's available next. And then for French Corta, you're looking at, I don't know, probably 30-40% more than this. And then Champagne, you're going to be double.
Yep.
Yeah, because real champagne starts at like
45.
50, 45. Yeah,
Like it's Central Market or Specs. You could get some pretty solid champagne, not the best, but you can get champagne for $45 to $55.
Oh, sure. There's a 40 the Perrier Jouet bottle. It's around $44. That's one of my, it's almost a special occasion. It's good enough to be a special occasion bottle.
Well, I mean, I'm here, so I'm going to name drop. I mean, like Gracio is a grower champagne that you can get at the store for $46, and it's great stuff.
Gracio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gracio.
Gratiot. It's French.
Okay. That French word.
Never pronounce the last few syllables.
That's right. That's right. It's just a French thing. They just don't do it. Tell you about the cigar that I enjoyed this week. One of the things that I've decided to do this year is go back to some cigars that I've reviewed on the show in the past that have kind of become regulars in my humidor, either as special occasion cigars or ones that are more everyday go-tos. And today I'm going to, if you will, what is probably my favorite go-to cigar, and it is the H. Upmann by AJ Fernandez.
That's a great cigar.
Altadis USA owns the Upmann brand today, and over the last several years, they've gone to AJ for several blends, including the 1844 Reserve, which I really enjoy. But the straight-up H. Upmann by AJ Fernandez, with its gold and baby blue band, is almost always in my humidor. So I thought, you know what? Let's smoke one and talk about why it's such a go-to for me. To start out, the pre-light aromas are just wonderful. The cigar uses Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper draped over a Nicaraguan Corojo 99 binder and Dominican and Nicaraguan fillers. A quick sniff gave me the tangy and woody notes I was expecting, along with fresh hay and dark earth. I lit up this beautiful rounded cigar, and because I'm familiar with these for quite a while now, I was not surprised by the Nicaraguan Pepper Blast.
Do you need me to play it?
No, not particularly. Certainly, it wasn't overwhelming, but it was enough to qualify as a blast. Coffee notes made themselves known as the pepper settled into a comfortable groove. An oaky woodiness made up the core, with baking spices on the mid-palate and black pepper on the tongue and on the finish. The burn started out almost perfect, with a razor-straight line in the first third, and although I already knew what I was in for, stopping to really appreciate these flavors once again had me pretty excited. The second third, a nice maltiness worked its way into the flavor profile. The woodiness morphed into more of a cedar note, and I got a little dried fruit as well, while the pepper remained consistent on the finish. The draw was perfect, and the burn line remained consistent all the way through. The last third was where I enjoyed the H. Upmann by AJ Fernandez the most. Creaminess seemed to help the flavors mesh brilliantly. Cedar, chocolate, coffee, baking spice, and a perfectly balanced pepper note. A really wonderful smoking experience. Construction was spot on. The burn has varied on different ones that I've smoked, but in this one, it was perfect, razor straight, and there's really never been a construction problem, I think, on any of these that I've ever smoked. Strength was medium to full, which is just where I like it. My only gripe about this cigar is that it is so good that it makes it tough, in my opinion, for other cigars at this price point to measure up.
Yeah.
Kind of sets the bar as far as I'm concerned. The price point has gone up a little bit in the years since the H. Upmann by AJ Fernandez debuted. It started out as a $7 to $8 cigar. It now seems to be more like $10 or a little, perhaps even a little more, based on the searches I did. You can still find it for $8 or even less online. Again, it just depends on where you look. At $10 to $11. The H. Upmann by AJ Fernandez, the Toro, which I smoked, is a solid 5 at $10 to $11.
So I'm looking at my review of this, which was 2019, would have been right when it first came out, I think.
Yeah.
The price was $7.50. Same size. I gave it a solid 6.5.
And Cruz, you paid what?
Well, I paid a little less. I paid at $7 to $8. It's at least a 6.5. Is what I wrote in my notes. I'm not kidding when I tell you this is one of the best cigars for the money that I buy, and it sets the standard for other smokes in its price range. In my opinion, there is a reason that I'm such an AJ fanboy. And by the way, I say $7 to $8 because I can usually find it for that. In this particular case, I think I paid closer to $6.
Oh, wow.
I got a really
Got a
good deal.
sale on them.
Good sale on them online.
It's almost like negative inflation.
Yeah, I know. And that's a hard thing to imagine in today's cigar world. But if you can find this for less than $10 and you like medium to full
100%.
cigars, it's a solid buy now. Buy now.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be fun to go back and talk about that again. It's been a long time.
When those first came out, I remember you buying them by the box.
That's right. And I still do, by the way, by the box or by the bundle on occasion, because they are that good. And that is, when I say it's a staple in my humidor, it really is a staple in my humidor. I've got several of them, and I need to go look and see if I have enough, because if I don't, I need to buy more. Yeah, that's why I like having multiple humidors. You can accommodate that type of thing. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back. Hour 2 of the show will bring us drinking news. It'll bring us more Prosecco, and it'll even bring us a little bit of rum, something called 10 to 1.
10 to 1.
Caribbean rum. And I like almost all things Caribbean, so I'm excited about this. We'll be right back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, and sparkling wines.
Oh, there it goes.
Nice. Nicely done. Ian, I noticed you still have some in your glass.
I love the little vapor that comes up when you pop the top on it.
You may want to finish out what's in your glass there so you can pour
there's that.
Pour you something new. So while he's pouring our next Prosecco, notch one for the handmade premium cigar industry in the long-standing battle with the FDA over regulations on premium cigars.
I just want to let you know, I left that in my glass until it was warm.
Yeah?
And it tastes fine.
Yeah. And I'm a person who always wants my sparkling wine really, really cold.
There's a little honey note in the back of it when it's a little warmer that I didn't notice before that's really nice. Too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to trying this next one. But first, let me tell you, we have a victory to celebrate. We have something to toast to with our sparkling wine here. Thank you. It should be celebrated. Fanfare should be going off because the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia has shot down the appeal by the FDA, which sought to overturn the ruling from 2023 by Judge Amit Pimenta, which ruled against the FDA in terms of it being able to regulate the premium handmade cigar industry. So yes, absolutely, it's a wonderful thing. I love because we've had so many setbacks as cigar smokers. We have to celebrate.
When
the
did common sense come into play, and when did people start listening to it? And I'm so happy.
I don't know. Today's decision, or the decision rather, will keep cigar makers from having to put warning labels on cigars that are a third the size,
size of the package,
and it will deal with some of the other draconian regulations that were being pushed by the FDA. Even more important, it should allow cigar makers to focus on their business rather than on fighting for the right to sell a product which is legal in the United States of America.
And then you had cigar makers at the time that were, okay, now, since we have to, at this cutoff date, we have to go through so many loops to create a new cigar name. So now cigar manufacturers were coming up with new names and things like that and just putting out random cigars with those names so they could have them established.
Bookmark them,
so they didn't have to jump through the loops it took to put out a new cigar every year.
Think about a guy like Rocky Patel from Rocky Patel Cigars.
That guy's awesome.
He has spent so much of his time campaigning and lobbying and doing everything he can to represent the cigar industry. Now Rocky can go back to just focusing on making really cool blends of Rocky Patel cigars.
And you know
That's
what?
a good thing.
He hasn't stopped making great cigars.
No, he really hasn't.
What would those have helped? What would the extra labels that they're claiming? What would that have deterred?
Well, they help people under the age of 21 not buy premium handmade cigars.
Oh, well, funny story about that. You know, I have a daughter and she's 14 years old, and we were talking about, you know, the show and stuff, and she said, I said, do you know what a cigar is? And she said, well, one of her grandfathers was smoking a cigar one day, and she asked him if that was a cigarette. That's how much she knows what a cigar is. She's
not
asked him,
going to cigar shops.
Is that a cigarette? But she is in junior high, so she knows what a vape pen is, because they all know what a vape pen is.
Thank you. This is why this legislation is so ridiculous.
Yeah, she literally did not know the difference between a cigar and a cigarette. When I showed her a cigar, I was like, wow, that's really something. Like, I don't know what to say about that. Like, I've never seen that before type thing, you know?
I will say, if I had a daughter, she would absolutely know what a cigar was, because Dad would be smoking them all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have a daughter, but if I did, I'm just saying. All right, so you have poured for us today. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this enough, but Travis Thompson is our guest today. Travis is from Vino Vera Wines, and he is actually more of an expert in Prosecco than anybody I think we've had on the show. So I appreciate this. This is another bottle of La Fara, but is it from the same region?
Now, the bottles look identical.
Yeah, so we're still DOCG Valdobbiadene, but now we're at an extra dry.
At the very bottom, you see extra dry.
So the first bottle said brut.
Yep.
And the next bottle says extra dry.
Correct.
And explain this to me again.
Read
Does
the
that
small
mean
print.
Sweeter or less sweet than brut?
Slightly sweeter.
Okay.
So now you're gonna. This is extra dry is kind of considered the first level of sweetness where you're tasting some of that, additional fruit, and you're actually noticing some sweetness.
Okay.
The brut, and then the extra brut or brut nature is going to be just that crisp. Not a whole lot of like noticeable sugar or fruit. Whereas here you're getting that tiny bit of noticeable sugar and additional fruit.
There's a little bit of like lemon peel going on. There's what's the other thing?
Goodness.
Well, it's a little bit. There's a little bit of like green apple almost.
Yes, definitely.
Like going on.
Granny Smith type.
Yeah,
like that real super
tart apple.
And so like, but using the extra dry is what I wanted to lead into. You know, a month or two ago, whenever we talked about doing this, like, let's do it as a lead up to Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. And I have a little map here in my notes that is Valentine's Day is about love. Love leads to sweet. Sweet leads to sweet wine. And for some reason, people, well, not some reason, because Cruz thought so, but people think that Prosecco is sweet. And so there is a level of Prosecco that is considered sweet. But, you know, at Vino Vera, we import La Ferrara. And so we kind of live, and not to just sound like a snob, but in the upper tier Prosecco to where it's not.
Sure. I mean, sweet can be a good thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. If it's kind of sickeningly sweet or cloying, that's one thing. But these both have sweetness to them. The extra dry a little more sweetness than the brut, but it is not in any way off-putting like some of the cheaper Proseccos that I've had. It's
Well,
just
look,
like
if here's the thing, it's a little bit like bourbon too. Okay, if you find a bourbon that's fantastic on its own,
yeah.
and depending on the price point, could also be a mixer, and then you find some that, you know, maybe not use this as a mixer because you're not going to get the returns from it, you know?
Right.
Like maybe a cheaper bourbon is better because then you get the bite, you get that, like Jack and Coke is a good example of that. If you don't use Jack Daniels with that bit of bitter on the end and everything like that, you don't get the Jack and Coke flavor. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe a sweeter and less expensive Prosecco is better for those mixing situations, but this has destroyed it for me. I'm never going to accept that level as a
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Again, and especially at this price point, like $24 is not something I just throw away for no reason. But however, it's not that expensive for a bottle of wine.
If
or
it's
a bottle
something
of Prosecco.
if it's something that you're going to take home and have for Valentine's Day with your
Right.
sweetheart,
And if you consider $24 for something you really enjoy, considering that's 1 to 2 drinks at your favorite restaurant or higher end bar.
yeah, one at most. Yeah.
Yeah, at a lot of times. I mean, so and this is the $7.50, right? So you're getting 4 servings out of this ish.
Yeah.
Depending, 3 if you're me.
I appreciate the honesty.
Maybe 2. I just poured in a bowl. No, I'm joking.
No, but this is it's really good. The sweetness is not off-putting in any way. Like in fact, it actually enhances your enjoyment of the fruit flavors, the tart apple and the little bit of citrus that you get in there. I think it's wonderful.
But say you've cooked your sweetheart a delicious ribeye and some the rest of her entree of the evening, and then you want to set out a bowl of honey drizzled strawberries. You know, this would go beautifully with that.
Yeah.
You know, matching that little bit of extra sugar. A little bit of extra sugar with the sweetness in your dessert.
You're giving me ideas.
Do both of these start out as the same liquid?
Yes, yeah. So this is the grape here is Glera. So and that's the primary grape. You know, we're looking in most bottles of Prosecco, you're 90 to 100% Glera, which is the grape, and there is. I researched this in depth last night. I think 0.1% of Prosecco is still, as a no fizzy. So that the sparkling side of it is not a requirement, but it is 99.9% of the cases it's going to be sparkling. But yeah, we're using the Glera grape, so it all starts out as the same juice.
But again, when you make a Prosecco like this, you're not adding CO2 or anything to this. It's a natural part of your bottle.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, so like last time I was on the show,
like the sugars make that.
Correct. Last time I was on the show, we talked about French Corte and how that's made. This is using a different process called Charmat. And Charmat is where, like, instead of that second fermentation happening in bottle, it's happening in a big pressurized tank. So the Glera wine is made. It's drinkable. But then you put sugar and yeast back into that pressurized tank in a formula that only the winemaker knows. And then you create the sparkling wine that is then
Yeah, because it's going to off gas and then it's going to absorb those bubbles, basically.
correct. Yeah.
And that's what you're tasting when you get the bubbles. It's offing the gas.
I will lift a glass to the winemaker who figured out how to do all of this
Right.
and how to make this so good, because I assume there was some trial and error involved.
For sure.
And they finally kind of figured out how to make it work the best. But this finished product is just, I mean, for the price that you're talking about, there's if I were to go into a restaurant and somebody else ordered the wine, I didn't look at how much it cost, and this got poured, I don't know if I'd be thinking it was in the $20, $25, $26 range. I think I'd be thinking it was more.
Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like I've got this on a couple of restaurant menus, and even with a couple times markup, this usually lands on it like coming into your table at about $42. But that's at a restaurant.
Sure.
So,
At a restaurant, that's very affordable because restaurant prices are going to be jacked up like that. You just have to know.
But I mean, say we're going back to you're going to a restaurant that has this bottle of wine in their menu, and you're going to share it with another couple. So that's still, you just get a glass,
Right.
and then so you're basically it's $21 per couple for to split the bottle.
Well, but that's $10 a glass, which is not much for bottles of wine.
Yeah, nothing.
And if you pour it right, it can mean an almost glass for the other three people and 2 glasses for you if you pour it right. And this is something that's important to learn.
But we don't always need food. Like today it is February 3rd in Houston, Texas, and it is 80 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Very humid. So this
as of our recording the show today, it's like summer's here.
Yeah.
I'm wearing shorts.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so this would be a good one just to sit on the back patio, and if you maybe I think we talked about last time my cigar scale, 0 being like a baby blonde and 10 being like your coffee colored. Anyway, so this might go with like a 2. So if you're going to sit on your patio with like a 1 to a 3 level cigar on your back patio, this would be a good one to maybe.
I would say this would go with a lot more than you think, because the sweetness and the fruit flavors. Oh, what are you holding there, sir?
Oh, they had the Arturo Fuente Hemingway series short story Maduro.
And that would go, I think, great with this, even though that's a very dark and stormy cigar.
It's a darker cigar, but it's still in a mild to medium realm, and it's still probably a little pulling more towards mild than medium.
It was a dark and stormy cigar.
Tell them Large Marge sent you. I'm sorry. What were we talking about?
But last time we talked about the champagne series from
Right. Perdomo.
Perdomo. Like I think this would definitely pair with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Totally. Are you kidding me? Yeah. There's a reason they call it champagne series, by the way.
Yeah, it's
because
so good.
it would pair really well with most sparkling wines. Well, this is wonderful. So really quick, as the music comes up, I just want to pour a tiny bit of the first one.
Yeah. So now we're going to compare the brut
back to it and try to compare the brut with the extra dry. And
La Ferrara makes some incredible products, and we're Vino Vera is privileged to bring these in and kind of only operate at the higher tier of Prosecco. And the only product we don't have in front of us today is their Rive, which is their single vineyard level stuff.
yeah.
But that's kind of a different level. But these two would satisfy any Prosecco need you ever have.
Well, I'll just tell you, I love them both, but for me, the brut.
Yeah,
that's the
Brut,
flavor.
baby.
That's
They're
the way
both
I
really
go.
good.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a break. Terry is giving me the hand signals like bad here. We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, and a little sparkling wine today, which we will get back to in a couple of moments. If you are listening to the show on one of our radio affiliates, then most likely, as you were hearing it, either tomorrow, depending on when they air the show, either tomorrow or today is the big game. And it is, something that if we say the name of it.
If you say the big game enough times, they're going to come along and they're going to copyright
You're
that.
going to copyright the big game? Yeah. I'm not saying what game it is. I just will say that Taylor Swift will be there, and it rhymes with Booper Swole. But tomorrow or today, depending on when you hear the show, it is the big game. It is the Super Bowl, and one of the big, most of the big beers run ads in the Super Bowl. I know Anheuser-Busch always does something. Usually they bring the Clydesdales back.
Yes.
Which is a good way to not focus on the beer at all.
Nostalgia. Yeah. Don't think about the beer. Think about the horses. Think about the packaging.
Well,
think about how cool. Think about how cool your place would look with some dogs playing pool.
Yeah, right.
What will these horses do? If
and
you
with some
don't
horses
ride by?
outside playing a football game. You know? But Coors is going one step further. They're getting into the home beauty regimen as they are launching a product for the Monday after the Super Bowl where beer meets beauty care. They have launched the Coors Light Chill Face Roller. It is a Coors Light can on a roller that you roll on your face, allowing the beer fans to use the chilled can as a facial massage tool.
That seems like an ultimately better idea than actually opening the can and partaking.
Maybe.
I'm going to point that out.
Should I store that can in the freezer?
For those of you...
Okay, so I regularly use really, really cold beer cans. Like if my eye is bothering me, like if I got something in my eye, the first thing I'll do is I'll go grab a super cold can of beer and hold it on my eye. So like it makes the swelling go down a little bit and you can get whatever piece of sand or whatever you got in your eye out. Just saying.
So I'm just saying, for those of you who may have never partaken in Coors or Coors Light,
Very hydrating beverage.
the cold activated can is what I like to refer to as an early warning system.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
If the mountains are not blue,
don't do it.
Ooh.
Don't do it.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not pretty.
Like drinking room temperature Chardonnay.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, and Ian was saying he had some of this after it had warmed up a little bit.
It was fine.
And it was actually not bad at all.
It actually picked up a little bit of a honey note to it that was really nice.
Marcella Pascola, the vice president of marketing at Coors Light, said, with the Coors Light Chill Roller, we're taking our mission to the next level by bringing the mountain cold of Coors Light directly to your daily routine.
Directly to your face.
Why not chill your face while you chill your case of the Mondays?
Wow.
This is a real thing.
Wow.
The Coors Light Face Roller. It's available for a limited
And
time.
that was a real
I
press
wanted to be
release.
fly on the wall when he was pitching this.
Wow.
It's available for a limited time at shop.coorslight.com.
Go write hey, AI, please go write me something
Yeah.
cool that sounds like a businessman wrote it.
This beer's so good you want to rub it on your face.
The brand recommend using the product by applying the chill roller directly to face in a rolling motion and saying, I don't have a case of the Mondays.
Can we just be
I'm just reading from the press release here.
Wow.
Can we just get honest and swap out roller with can?
Yeah. If you don't believe yourself, they say repeat steps 1 through 3 until you do.
I'm surprised they didn't tell you to be drinking a Coors Light while doing this.
By the way, earlier this month, or earlier in January rather, the brand announced it would temporarily change its name to Mondays, turning a case of the Mondays into a literal case of beer
boy.
with Mondays Light.
Oh my god.
You know,
The problem with beers like St. Arnold's or Sierra Nevada or beers like that is they just, unfortunately, they rely on the flavor of their actual beverage.
Well, no,
they sit around in their
like, what are they
planning meetings.
thinking?
They sit around in their planning meetings and go, this beer that we tried was really popular. Let's try something else in that style that tastes really good that people will enjoy. And at Coors, they sit around and go, what other non-beer related things can we do to try to hype people on our product?
I don't even think they do that. I think they paid someone to do it. I think they paid an ad agency.
Right.
Do you remember when Budweiser looked at the market and goes, that 3% of the market that we don't get to craft beer?
Yeah.
I think people like it because there's more alcohol in it. So we're going to put more alcohol in Budweiser. Remember that one?
Yeah, and how that went over. But my favorite, though, is when the folks at Miller thought, people are too bored when they're drinking their Miller Lights. Let's make the bottle like a vortex.
The
so that
vortex
it comes
bottle.
swirling out of the bottle.
It makes you drink so much smoother.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
I feel like rifling the bottleneck that was, because it wasn't even in their long necks, it was in their shorter bottles, so it's like an inch and a half of rifling.
Yeah.
of liquid.
I love that you're calling it rifling.
Well, I mean, that's
That's what it is.
Texas, baby.
I just want to read you. I want to read you this one more thing about the Coors Light marketing. Their idea to turn a case of the Mondays into a literal case of beer with Mondays Light. That announcement came after days of online discussion surrounding a typo in Coors Light ads that were released everywhere, where they spelled refreshment in their ads.
I wish you guys could hear the face palm right now.
Here was their statement.
Autocorrect, you failed me now.
Here was their
again.
statement, and we will go to break with this. Coors Light wants to thank everyone for letting us know about the errors. Very chill of you. Mondays, am I right?
No regerts.
That was their statement
regrets.
on January 13th. So grab your Coors Light face roller while you can, and we will take a break. It's Smoking a Toast.
Well, you can.
I wanted to hear the gurgling sound.
Oh, sorry.
It didn't really work. That's right.
Didn't translate. Sorry.
We'll work on that, but I did get you to pour an extra tall pour for that one, so I'll hope to get that one.
Mission accomplished.
Ian's pouring the rum. We'll be tasting that in this segment on Smoking and Toasting. But right now, it's time for people across the country to pick up their ukuleles because it's time for drinking
And
news.
join along. For those of you who play,
What key are you in?
well, I'm in the key of C,
Okay,
and it's going to go 1, 5, 6, 4. Okay.
I knew that.
Here we go. Drinking news. Oh, sorry. 1, 4, 6, 5. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. There's a 1, 4, 6, 5. See?
I got it.
When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Usually I get, thank you. Usually I get a little strum there. By the way, I'd like to see AI do that. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Come on, that was pretty awesome.
Yes, it was. Well, Drinking News is our segment of the program where we bring you a story from the news from somewhere. It is usually, but not always, about drinking, but it is always a story that's best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And we have been drinking Prosecco, so we're good to go. We're going to have some rum here in a few moments, too. Well, whether you believe that human beings evolved or were created, and as amazing as the human body is, the human mind, or perhaps more specifically, the human psyche, has some issues. As Homo sapiens, there are many things that we do that just don't make sense. I live in a building with an elevator, and I can't tell you how many times people walk up, look at the lighted button that I've already pressed, that means the elevator has been called, and then push it again, as if that's somehow going to make the elevator get here faster.
If you push it twice, it gets there twice
Right,
as fast.
No, it needs to know I'm here too.
People using Spotify have streamed Cardi B songs over 4 billion times. This is something that cannot be explained by common sense. And despite the fact that it has never led to anything good, people everywhere continue to utter the phrase, "Hold my beer and watch this." And the single best way to get a human being to do something seems to be
Don't do it.
telling them not to do it. I mean, I guarantee that someone at some point must have said to Michael Jackson, "Okay, you're good now. No more plastic surgery." Right? But it seems inherent in human nature to go ahead and do what we've been told, often by people in a position to know that we really should not do. I mean, I've been told not to trust Ian when he pours me a drink and says, "Go ahead, it's not Malort." And yet, but good advice is often ignored. Like it was in our main story today when a Florida man completely disregarded warnings from the Florida Department of Health.
Florida Department of Health.
Yes, there is such a thing.
I feel like Florida man and complete disregard, that just are like two things that go right together.
Yeah, but Florida Department of Health, not so much.
No,
yeah.
no.
Because of a toxin and a potentially deadly neurotoxin, that best case scenario can cause numbness, dizziness, and difficulty breathing. And in the worst case scenario, can literally kill you.
Yeah, but it's only a little bit of dead.
The agency, the Florida Department of Health, as I previously mentioned, has repeatedly advised Florida men and women not to eat pufferfish.
Well, we all learned that in The Simpsons, right?
What the hell were you thinking?
Then again, they've even come up with a catchy slogan.
Oh.
Eat puffer, you suffer.
Oh.
This is real, by the way. I did not make that up.
You suffer.
Now, it is true that
Eat
pufferfish...
puffer.
You have
You're
to
gonna suffer.
You got to do it more like Jimmy Buffett, you know?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It is true that pufferfish is considered a delicacy in Japan. But there, chefs go through actual years of training on how to properly prepare this dish so that they don't kill their customers. I mean, can you imagine? You're a chef, you've been going to pufferfish class for a year and a half, and you still haven't graduated. You still might kill someone. You're not quite there. You don't have the credentials.
He hasn't passed his pufferfish test yet.
In Florida, none of these educated chefs actually exist.
Oh, no, not
But
at all.
none of this stopped our 43-year-old Florida man who was admitted to the hospital after eating pufferfish liver, one of the most toxic parts of the cute little pufferfish. Doctors say...
What the hell is this part? I don't know. I'm going to eat it.
Doctors say he started vomiting profusely, had numbness and weakness in his legs, couldn't speak clearly, and had chest and stomach pains.
Or he might have been drinking.
Yeah, I was going to say, pretty much like everything that you don't want to happen to your body is happening right there. To make matters worse, the Florida man apparently also had an ongoing problem with extremely high blood pressure and chronic kidney disease.
I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, and that's not all, by the way. Before eating the poisonous fish, he had also done a very large amount of cocaine. Yeah, exactly.
You know, I almost said, sounds like someone who's been drinking and then decides to do a bunch of coke.
Yeah.
But okay.
Doctors say the man very nearly died, but they were ultimately able to save his life. Still, he will require dialysis treatment for the rest of his life, thanks to the fact that the tetrodotoxin, or TTX, that's found in pufferfish is most concentrated in the fish's liver, and it is more than 1,000 times more toxic than cyanide.
Wow.
And there's no antidote for it.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
So while warnings about, devious malort pranksters are important to heed, I'll repeat here the Florida Department of Health's catchy slogan for you guys one more time. Eat puffer, you suffer. I mean, after all, they went through...
I got to say, they could be a little more straightforward with that.
Yeah.
Florida man.
Yeah.
Eat puffer, you die.
There was a Simpsons episode, of course, that deals with this, and there's a picture of the guy looks at it, the chef looks at the pufferfish, and it's got little skulls all around it, and every except this one little tiny place in the middle, and he points to that one little tiny place in the middle, and he goes, "That's the part that's not poison."
Eat puffer, you suffer, right? Yeah. After all, though, the Florida Department of Health did go through a number of potential slogans.
Can you just go fish for pufferfish? I mean,
Yeah.
You can just get them.
There's actually 4 varieties of them that you can catch. In
I had a
Florida.
pufferfish in an aquarium once.
why do you know
just tried
this?
to go
At
in it, I hope.
Petco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, the Florida Department of Health went through a number of potential slogans before they landed on "Eat puffer, you suffer."
So let me get this right. You can go fish for pufferfish and put them in a tank, and then you could, go on YouTube and watch a video on how to carve them up
Yeah.
and
Well,
and then you could die.
Last week we learned how to do your own vasectomy on YouTube, and so this week it's how to do your own pufferfish.
And listen, when they went to do these slogans, some of them, as you might guess, were better than others.
Ooh, cutting room floor.
Yeah. Thanks to the work of our crack investigative team here at Drinking News, we have gained access to some of these rejected witty sayings. And despite continual complaints to our affiliate stations, we have compiled them for you here in the form of another Drinking News Top 5 list. This would be the Top 5 Pufferfish warning slogans rejected by the Florida Department of Health. And you know why this is funny? Because it contains the phrase Florida Department of Health.
Yeah.
That's why it's funny. I don't even have to score on any of these 5. Just Florida Department
It's
of
a
Health.
very small building with one room.
Top 5 rejected pufferfish warning slogans. Number 5, if the fish can inflate, keep it off your plate.
That's not what I was going to say, but okay.
Number 4, always avoid fish, and for that matter, musicians that are called puffy. That one doesn't rhyme, but it's still good advice as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
So timely.
Number 3, the taste may make you shiver, but beware the puffer's liver. Number 2, one should always abstain from pufferfish and cocaine. And the number 1 pufferfish warning slogan rejected by the Florida Department of Health. Number 1, better to be a fluffer than to dine on the puffer. I think that one may have been a little too specific to the porn industry, but
you know, when the first one you said was if the pufferfish or
if a fish can inflate, keep it off your
oh
plate.
yes, yeah, I thought fillet might.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that.
yeah. It would have. But I had to go with the fluffer line later, so I didn't want to.
yes,
I didn't
sorry.
want to be too repetitive, you know.
I like the way that both of y'all got that same kind of thing out of a pufferfish. That was
Reporting live from a Joe's Crab Shack in Florida, where I'm pretty convinced that pufferfish isn't the only fish here that can make you sick. My name is Cruz, and
Wait, pufferfish, is that the people you find at the truck stop late at night?
and that is your.
Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. My goodness.
You know what's good?
What's good?
Rum.
Rum is good, isn't it? So tell us a little bit about, you got the bottle over there, so tell us about this 10-to-1 rum that we're drinking here.
10-to-1 Caribbean rum, 5 origin select. I don't know what that means. Coming in at 92 proof even.
So I think it came from 5 different locales in the Caribbean islands, and so it's 5 different rums that are combined in the, I don't know why it's 10-to-1 if it's 5 different rums. Seems like it would be 5-to-1, but there you go.
Very aromatic.
It's really interesting because it's big.
It is
on
big.
The sip. It's real big.
And
it
rums
has
are not
a
always
bite.
big. Sometimes they're very mellow, you know?
It has a bite to the end of it that I wasn't expecting, but it's kind of pleasant. It's on here it says mild acidity. Okay. I go with that. Medium body, long, clean finish.
Interesting. Usually you don't get rums talking about acidity.
True.
Or any spirit really talking about acidity. That's usually in my world.
It's right after you swallow. It's like, bam, it hits you.
Right. And so what's interesting to me is that up front, you kind of get the heat and the pepperishness of this. And the finish, like after the finish is where it kind of behaves more like a rum. You get that molasses and the sugary vibe more on the finish than up front, which is kind of interesting. Up front, it almost drinks more like a whiskey.
They have a statement on here. It says, our mission at 10-to-1 is to create contemporary and elevated blends designed to challenge expectations and change the way people taste, experience, and talk about rum. Our 5 Origin Select is a masterful blend of rums aged up to 15 years, highlighted by the inclusion of a remarkable extra old Guianese rum distilled at the famed Port Morant double wooden pot still, the only one of its kind in operation today. Rums from Trinidad, Barbados, and the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica, and bottled. That's a lot of ands in that sentence, guys. You're doing a run on.
Well, but
And bottled at 92 proof, this expression delivers a bold and memorable sipping experience.
so I think there's your 5 to your 5 origin thing. I think it's coming from 5 different origin spots in the Caribbean islands, including Jamaica, including the other
The
places.
tasting notes make sense on here too. Cacao, vanilla, peppercorn, rich toffee, hazelnut, ginger, crisp apple.
I totally get the peppercorn
Yeah.
and the crisp apple I get as well. It's the finish that makes it. This would almost seem like a whiskey if it didn't finish the way it does.
It has a
finishes
very
like a rum.
distinctive burnt caramel /
Burnt caramel.
cane sugar finish to it that definitely screams rum as soon as you take the swallow.
I like it.
It's a little more. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a little more in your face than a lot of rums. Like a lot of rums, I think of as being very mellow. They're very, they're contemplative. You sit back and
more.
stroke your beard, as Terry was just doing, and you think about things and enjoy the.
This would have gone well
sweet
with my
spirit.
cigar today.
Yeah.
This would have gone well with the Black Works, just due to the. What's interesting too is, like a lot of rums leave a very rum kind of finish on the palate, and this one, when it's finished, it doesn't really leave a very rum finish. It leaves more almost like a whiskey or even a tequila.
But see, I get on the finish. I get
like
more of
woody.
that. I get more of that rum. That's where I get the sugar and the molasses. On
Yes,
the
but then
finish.
once it clears out, you wait a little bit. You have
You're
to
right.
wait.
No,
You have to wait a couple more seconds to take a
You're
sip.
totally right. You let that kind of pass,
Right.
and then it's almost like you.
It's just more wood
had a
than
little
anything
bourbon.
else. So
Yeah.
it's almost a bourbon or a tequila, like an añejo tequila kind of finish.
Agreed. By the way, buy your tequilas now. You got a month. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is show number 418, which means we've been doing this a long time and we still haven't learned any better. It's just what it is, Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Speaking of fine spirits, we really are digging this rum. It's a little more like strength forward, I would say, than some rums that I've tried. It's not quite as mellow, but boy, is the flavor
Your rum is
amazing.
broken, sir.
It certainly is, and I appreciate you for fixing that. You are a credit to your whatever you are. We are glad to have you on the program. We're also glad to have Travis Thompson from Vino Vera Wines.
That guy's
Travis
awesome.
has brought us some Proseccos, both of which I intend to purchase on an ongoing basis now. And I don't know that I would ever have said that about Prosecco, purchasing on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
But these are just absolutely wonderful. I particularly like the Brut.
That Brute at $24 might
Yeah.
just become my go-to bubbly
Yeah,
now.
this could almost replace the $44 sort of like my special champagne, not the ultra special, because you can pay $100 for a Veuve Clicquot or whatever.
Yeah, Veuve is nice.
Yeah, but generally when I pay around $45 for a bottle of Perrier Jouet, that's my okay. My wife knows I'm either wanting something or celebrating something when I
Something happened or is
Yes.
about to happen.
Exactly. Something either happened or is about to happen.
Yeah, but so for $24 on a Thursday, Friday afternoon, she says,
Yeah.
"Hey, honey, bring home something good." Actually specifically for you, this is available at Phoenicia downtown.
Oh, and see, and I live in that building. So
you
this
could
is
literally go downstairs in your bathrobe
Dude,
and buy
yeah,
this.
and I will just admit to everyone in the
My
world
level
here,
of jealousy
I have
is now
done that
very
before.
high.
Not this specific thing, but the bathrobe. Yes, yeah. Phoenicia is a great little store downtown Houston. They have a wonderful wine selection upstairs, and they also have a very impressive craft beer selection.
Yep.
More impressive than some of the larger grocery stores in many cases.
Do they do cigars there?
They do. They're locked in a cabinet. You have to get a guy to come and unlock it for you. But they do have cigars in a big humidor.
So you
upstairs.
even have a, in case of emergency, break
I do.
glass
And I have-
cigars.
I
Cigar, wine, and beer.
I have not bought cigars down there before, but I know that it's there, and it helps me sleep at night.
The closest I come to that is there's a gas station around the corner that opened up from my house.
Yeah.
And they have a little humidor, and they always have the Perdomo champagne.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you're in pretty good shape.
It's the same Perdomo champagne
You're
that's
in
been
pretty
there
good
for
shape.
3 years.
I know.
Yeah, they might not have sold out that box yet.
Now I went downstairs it was when we had the snow, when it snowed in Houston several weeks ago.
Yep.
I'm like going downstairs to pick up some beer.
I picture you in a tank top style undershirt.
That's
with a
pretty much what I had on.
with
yes.
with a bathrobe loosely hanging from you and
Sweatpants.
fuzzy
and
slippers
some big fuzzy slippers. That's exactly what it looked like. And I go traipsing down there, and I pull on the door, and it's like, oh no, they closed because I was so put out by that. Like it's like, how dare they close on a snow day when I need beer?
All right, wait till AI takes over, and they don't need someone to actually run the place. The AI can just open it up and see what you've taken and charge you for it.
Yeah, that's right. AI will do it all. It's going to happen whether we like it or
What's
not.
that scene?
But yeah, I hope
Thank you
today
for shopping at Carl's Jr. Here's your big ass fries.
I hope that today Cruz, we've showed you that
I've learned a lot. Yeah,
that Prosecco's not just this sweet, silly thing that, whatever stereotype you want to apply to it. Stuff like this, your DOCG level, where whether you want a brut or an extra dry.
It's kind of like cigars. If all you ever had is Swisher Sweets, you haven't tried the good stuff yet.
Bushwhackers?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, no, this is wonderful, and this will be a regular purchase for me in the future going forward. So, Travis Thompson from Vino, Vera Wines, thank you so much for being here on the program today.
Thank you very much for having me.
We really appreciate it. Ian, I know we got a couple of good things coming up on the calendar. Next week's show, our old friend Michael Duckworth from True Anomaly Brewing will return, and I understand they're going to sponsor the show beer segment.
I'll be picking up the show beers tomorrow. We will have True Anomaly show beers for the rest of the month. Do you know how decadent that is?
I love
Their beers are so good.
Their beers, they're so good. And Michael Duckworth's such a great guy.
Yes.
We've had him on the show before. It'll be great to have him on, talk about what's going on that's new at True Anomaly.
The week after that, we're going to have Miss
I'm so
Liliana
excited.
Rodriguez in.
Our tequila expert. She is so awesome. Honestly, whenever Docs comes on, he pretends that the ratings spike. But when the ratings really spike?
Liliana.
It's when Liliana is on.
Liliana.
Everybody loves Liliana. And so she'll be here to talk tequila and Mexican spirits with us. And
then we'll go one more week after that. We're going to be at Maduro's Lounge down on the south side with Trenton Smith.
Oh, from Oliva. Love that.
We haven't had him on. It's been a year.
Well, he's such a great guy, and Olivas are such great cigars. So
such a great guy.
Looking forward to that. So a lot of good stuff coming in the weeks to come. And I just want to again thank you for bringing these amazing Proseccos on. These are both so good. I really want to try that. Tell me what the brut. The next one is the brut.
So La Ferra makes a Rive de Saligo, which is a single vineyard selection of the extra dry.
Okay.
They also make a Rive version of the brut, but we at Vino Vera do not carry it. But we feel privileged that we get to carry only the good stuff.
But you do have a brut that's an extra step beyond this one, right?
No, we have the extra dry version.
The
that's
extra
the
dry,
step
okay.
above.
All right.
And you will notice a difference if you can find it at a wine shop or just
for sure.
Ask Spexel Special order the stuff for you. Just let them know what you're looking for.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm super happy with what we have had here today. This is making me want to explore the world of Proseccos even more. And when I say explore, I mean drink, because that's how I do my
research.
That's how I do my exploration, because that's what I'm like. But no, we're looking forward to having you back on the show again, because it's not only educational, which I think is very important, but it's also a chance to drink some really good stuff.
Yes.
And that's what today has been like. So so thank you. Thank you very much.
Cheers to rum, beer, and Prosecco.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers.
y'all.
And thanks to everyone who has made this show part of your weekly routine. I don't know what's wrong with you, but thank you. And we will look forward to seeing you again next week when we are joined by Michael Duckworth. Have a great week, my friends. And
cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
It's alright when it's okay.